Working. Let me get out of your way then, brother. Oh, wow, you got a big setup.
Inside, yes. Inside one of the Ziploc bags, red ones, there should be a little silver box. Yeah, we need that.
It's almost time to start. Yeah, let's start.
Check, check, check. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check, 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 check 1 2. Check, check, check 1 2. Check, check. Okay, we have a signal. Wanted to set up. Hello everybody, if you guys can hear me, check 1 2, check 1 2, audio test. You guys can go ahead and share the link, it's about to get started.
Beyond that, we're always looking to push the boundaries of what's possible in tabletop gaming, embracing technology to make our games stand apart, and looking to offer the best products in every gaming category, and to create new categories when possible. So, personally, I'm extremely grateful to be part of this industry. an industry founded upon the concept of bringing people together around the table to play games, be that with your friends, your family, or just friendly strangers with whom you happen to share a common interest. I'm really happy and proud to be part of that, just bringing people together. And I'm grateful to all of you, to all of our fans. We have so many great fans that support us in everything that we do every day. We could not do it without you, so thank you very much. So tonight, unlike last year, previous years, where prior to GenCon we do a run-up of lots of new product announcements on our website leading up to the show, and then we talk about them in the presentation. This year we held all that back. So what you're going to be seeing tonight, you're going to be seeing some stuff that you've seen already, but most of what you're seeing are going to be brand new product announcements. Let's get this thing started. Close.
A dark shadow grows in the streets and back alleys of our once fair city. Beneath the reassuring veneer of reality lurks an ancient evil, somewhere beyond the emptiness of space and time. Horrific and bizarre events occur with increasing frequency. Strange lights flicker. People disappear. Those of us who dare investigate witness the inexplicable. We know the hideous truth, and we cannot run from it. We rare few must try to avert the end of the world, knowing it may well cost us our sanity or our lives.
Arkham Horror, 3rd edition. So, Arkham Horror has been our flagship cooperative board game for the last 13 years, and I'm excited to finally announce our new, more modern edition of this classic game. So, in Arkham Horror, players take on the role of investigators, defending the city of Arkham against terrible beings beyond time and space, the ancient ones. This basic premise remains unchanged in the new edition. You'll move about the city, gathering clues, having strange encounters with strange individuals, and fighting creatures beyond moral comprehension. Where this edition is different is in the details. So, in re-envisioning Arkham Horror in a world where both Eldritch Horror and Mansions of Madness exist, we decided we want this to sit somewhere in the middle of those two games in its scope. In Eldritch, you're running all over the world trying to stop the world from ending. In Mansions, you're typically in very small areas dealing with dangers specific to that area. In Arkham, we wanted to maintain an epic feel of the original, but offer something new, something that you couldn't get from those two games, and I think we achieved that. So, one of the most obvious changes to Arkham Horror 3rd edition is the board. So, in the new edition of the game, we have lifted the neighborhoods off of the traditional board and turned them into interconnected tiles. So what this allows us to do is it gives us the opportunity to present different setups for each of the scenarios that come in the game. And it also allows for big, beautiful artwork featuring the city of Arkham, something that I really appreciate. Also, we've taken the concept of investigation and leaned into it heavily with this version of the game. When you begin a game of Arkham Horror 3rd edition, you won't necessarily know exactly what you need to do to win. First, you'll need to investigate whatever strange thing is going on, gather information, and then devise a plan. This is partially represented by the scenario-specific event decks that drive the story forward. As you draw these cards during the course of play, you'll have the opportunity to shape the narrative and take different paths to victory or to defeat. So yes, defeat. It's still a, I think, difficult game. I think it's difficult. But like all of our Arkham Horror Files games, I think that it's almost just as much fun to lose as it is to win. And I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I do. So, Arkham Horror 3rd Edition will release in the 4th quarter of this year at MSRP of $64.95. You can play a prototype version of the game at our booth, so please come and check it out. But if you feel like making a trip up to the Fantasy Flight Game Center in a couple of months, attendees of our annual Arkham Nights event will have the opportunity to be the first ones to play the retail version of the game. And speaking of which, if you would like to pre-order the game, either through our website or through your local retailer, you'll receive a copy of the deluxe hardcover rulebook. This is, for those of you familiar with our Twilight and Dragon 4th Edition pre-order, this is very similar to that. This combines the Learn to Play, the rules reference manuals, and it also has about 50 or 60 pages of lore about the city of Arkham and 2 new investigator stories of the 2 new investigators we've added to this version of the game. And this content is exclusive to this rulebook. All right. So, for those of you who frequent our website or follow us on social media, know that a few months ago we announced a new video game coming from our friends at As They Digital and Lucky Hammers, and that is Mansions of Madness, Mother's Embrace. And tonight I would like to share with you a first look at that game. So I've had the opportunity to play this a few times throughout the course of development, and I think it's so cool to see our investigators on the line in this game. I can't wait for this game to release. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Mansions of Madness, Mother's Embrace is coming to Steam Q1 of 2019. All right, so we're going to keep it digital again for the moment, and talk about the Lord of the Rings living card game. So the Lord of the Rings living card game is a digital adaptation of our long-lived Lord of the Rings card game. The team at Fantasy Flight Interactive has been working incredibly hard to create a game that captures the spirit of the source material, while at the same time offering something different than the game that inspired it. So here's a look at the gameplay.
Shadows gather from Mordor, growing restless. Darkness stirs as the spies of Sauron awake. Assemble your fellowship and rise against the forces of evil. Harness the spheres of influence and craft your deck to combat the forces of darkness. Gather brave allies and collect powerful equipment. Begin your adventures in the realms of Middle-earth. Travel deep into the heart of Mirkwood and beyond. Striking down immense spiders, fearsome orcs, and the dreaded Nazgul, while exploring untouched corners of the realm. Embrace your fate, turning the tide of battle by unlocking unique bonus effects. Become a hero of the light as you unlock new heroes, allies, equipment, and events to embark on new quests and defeat cunning foes in The Lord of the Rings living card game.
access on Steam on August 28th. If you're interested, please come and check it out at the booth. We'll be demoing it there. I also encourage you, if you're interested in the game, to go to our website and check out the Collector's Edition, which, in addition to the game itself, includes a limited edition 2-player version of the card game, which has a couple of all-new quests and some alternate graphic design. Plus, it has a replica of the One Ring and some other cool stuff. So please go online and check it out if you haven't already. So, we're going to bring it back to the tabletop now. It's something that many of you have probably thought might never come. I'm not talking about Armada yet. And that is a box expansion to one of our best-selling games of all time. The only game that matters. A Game of Thrones, the board game. What? Yeah. And it's the Mother of Dragons expansion. Yeah. So, as you might expect, the Mother of Dragons expansion adds House Targaryen to the game, along with House Aaron, which brings the total player count up to 8. So, in A Game of Thrones, the board game, for those of you who don't know, players take on the role of the great houses of Westeros, vying for control of the Iron Throne. Those of you who played the game know that it's a great vehicle for bringing out that fun-loving, scheming, backstabby side of yourself and your friends. And a lot of the fun comes in forming alliances only to betray those alliances when it best suits your needs. So it's incredibly true to the source material. So with Mother of Dragons expansion, we're going to be introducing some quality of life improvements to the game, including a vassal system that allows players to play with every house, regardless of the number of players at the table. This greatly improves the play experience when playing with fewer than the maximum number of players. So House Targaryen will begin on a sideboard, which we don't have a picture of here, but you'll see it, sorry. House Targaryen begins play on a sideboard featuring the continent of Essos, while House Aaron begins in a board overlay on the main board. But most important of all, it comes with these really awesome dragon equals, which I think are really great. So you can demo a prototype version of this expansion at our booth. Please come by and check it out if you'd like. And Mother of Dragons releases Q4 of this year. MSRP of $39.95. So moving from Westeros to Rokugan, I'm going to talk about Legend of the Five Rings for a little while. So last year at GenCon, we launched the Legend of the Five Rings LCG to a massive reception. We had the largest tournament we've ever had at GenCon. It was fantastic and really amazing to see. Since then, we've held over 20,000 organized play events around the world. And this week, we'll be wrapping up the second cycle of Dynasty Packs with the release of Diamonds Unbound, which you'll be able to get at our booth. Soon, we'll be releasing the Scorpion Clan Pack, the Underhand of the Emperor, and the novella, Whispers of Shadow and Steel. And this November, we'll be announcing a new expansion for the L5R card game, so stay tuned to our website for more details. Tomorrow marks the official launch of our Legend of the Five Rings role-playing game line, which I'm super excited about. Yes. So tomorrow at the booth, you'll be able to pick up our beginner game. This box set contains everything you need to get started with the L5R RPG, which includes an introductory adventure and 4 pre-built characters so that GMs and players can jump right in with minimal preparation. Like I said, it'll be available at our booth for $39.95, or you can pick it up next week at your local retailer. We'll also soon be releasing the full core rulebook and the Game Master's Kit for the RPG. The game will feel very familiar to veteran players, but we've made several changes and improvements over previous editions of the game. So the focus of the L5R RPG is samurai drama set in the fantasy world of Rokugan. It features an incredibly deep character creation system and nuanced rules for handling conflicts ranging from intimate political struggles at court to one-on-one duels to massive battles featuring warring armies. This book features a ton of beautiful artwork, and for those of you who appreciate good graphic design and layout, I do. This book, I think, features some of the best work we've ever done. I love it. So while the L5R core rulebook certainly contains a lot of information about Rokugan and the Great Clans, the next book in the series features even more. So I'd like to announce Emerald Empire, the essential guide to Rokugan and first supplement for the L5R role-playing line. This book contains a wealth of information about Rokugan and its peoples. It has tons of information for game masters and new player options and character backgrounds for players. Emerald Empire released in Q4 of this year. There's a pattern developing for an MSRP of $49.95. So, I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting patiently to hear about our Star Wars products. Woo! Please welcome to the stage FFG's executive game designer, Corey Koneska, who will tell you all about it.
Thank you. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here in front of all of you to talk about my one true passion, the Backstreet Boys. It's games. Games. He's got it. And what better game to start with than Star Wars Armada? Woo! So Star Wars Armada has some of the most dedicated fans I've ever seen. And we absolutely love you guys. And last year at the INFLIGHT report, we announced that something big was coming to Star Wars Armada. And, well, we weren't kidding. Check it out. This is the largest miniature we've ever created. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. It took us years to figure out how to even produce this thing. Not to mention the number of times we've gone back sculpting and resculpting so we could get all the details exactly the way we wanted them. This ship is massive. It's got 6 different firing arms. It can attack 3 times per turn. It's going to destroy fleets. You'll love it. It's going to come with 4 different ship cards, 2 of which are fully playable in standard 400-point games. But if you want to see this beast in all its glory, try out some bigger games and really see what it can do. Now, this prototype you'll be able to see at our booth throughout the show, so I encourage you to come by and check it out. And you'll be able to buy it Q1 of next year for $199.95.
That's not bad. That's reasonable. For that, that's a good price.
So I want to change gears a little bit, talk about a different game that's near and dear to my heart, Star Wars Destiny. Now this is a game that I'm personally so proud of. I feel like it's really resonated with Star Wars fans, and it's somehow captured both hobby gamers and the casual gamers. We just recently released the Way of the Force expansion, and this built on some of the themes that we introduced earlier in the year. It's got some fan favorite characters like Supreme Leader Snoke and Old Man Luke. This was our second expansion of the year, and we're dedicated to releasing 3 every year. And so we just recently announced the third one, which is Across the Galaxy. Across the Galaxy is going to introduce all sorts of fun new things. For example, there are plot cards that have negative point costs. What does that mean? Well, for the first time, you're going to be able to make teams of characters that normally couldn't work together because of the point restrictions. There's also a new keyword called Modify, which allows you to attach certain upgrades on the ships and vehicles. For example, you can put an astromech into your X-Wing for the first time ever, or upgrade the guns in your ATST, all sorts of fun stuff. The set also has a lot of cards from the new Star Wars movie Solo, so you'll be able to fly the Millennium Falcon before it was a piece of junk, or use Han and Chewie as neutral characters who can actually work with anyone. So that's going to be available this November for $2.99 a pack. Next. Next, I'd like to talk a little about Star Wars Legion. Woo! Now, we just released this game earlier this year, and honestly, I've been completely blown away with the fan response to this. Every time I go online, I see figures that people have painted, terrain they've made way better than I could ever do. It's awesome. Now, following up the core release with all those expansions, we've had a steady stream of more packs. We've got more commanders, more troops, weapon emplacements. And tonight, I'm going to talk about some of the next packs coming down the pipe. First of all, we've got the mighty Chewbacca. So Chewie is the first operative unit for the Rebels. That means that he's a single figure that can work with any squad, but he's not a commander. Chewie also, like you'd expect, hits like a truck. So just whatever you do, don't make him angry. If he takes too much damage, Chewie has an infinite courage value. It's pretty scary. Chewie's also bringing with him some of his furry friends. No, I don't mean Ewoks. He's got some Wookiee warriors. These are hard-hitting melee troops. They're going to rush into battle. They're going to tear your opponent to shreds. You'll love it. Your opponent won't. They're also really hard to take down. I don't know if it's the thick Wookiee fur or what it is. Both Chewie and the Wookiee warriors will be released in Q4 of this year. And coming next year, we've got a new type of pack, which we're calling personnel expansions. The first one is the Rebel Specialist Pack, and it includes 4 different figures. There's an officer, there's a comms technician, there's a medical droid, and an astromech. And you can socket these troops in any of your existing squads. They're going to provide new special abilities, extra hit points, that sort of stuff. The officer can also be fielded as a generic commander for any Rebel army. And it comes with 3 Rebel command cards that you can use in any of your Rebel armies. So a lot of fun stuff there. The Empire is also going to be getting their own specialist pack. Empire, yeah! This is going to come with the same 4 types of troops. And both of these are going to be released in Q1 of next year for $19.95. Now, we'll have a little more about Legion to talk about later. But for now, I'd like to move over to X-Wing.
Woo!
So earlier this year, we announced that we were doing X-Wing 2nd Edition. Yay! So this was something we've been working on for a long time, and it really allowed us to do a lot of important things. We could go back, take the best parts of 1st Edition, cut out the bloat, and keep what people really wanted, which is flying cool Star Wars ships. right? Now, we were also able to add a bunch of quality of life improvements and new mechanics. For example, there's force powers, the factions are more better defined. We've got a digital squad builder that's going to be super awesome for organized play. All of this stuff that you see here, you'll be able to pick up in September, but here at the show, we got all of it in limited quantities at our store. So come check it out. Now, I know you didn't come here to listen to me talk about stuff we've already seen online. So, what's next for X-Wing? There are already 3 factions in X-Wing, and the next wave is going to introduce 2 new ones, the Resistance and the First Order. Now, both of these factions were playable in the previous edition, but they weren't full-fledged factions like they're going to be now. We're going to kick off the release of both of those factions with conversion kits. So, for those unaware, a conversion kit will allow you to use any of your first edition ships of that faction in second edition. Now, this is also a great place for new players to get into the game. You can just pick up a ship off the shelf, you get a conversion kit, you're good to go. Both the First Order and the Resistance had fewer ships in the previous edition, so their packs are a little smaller, they're a little cheaper, but we didn't skimp out on these. They're going to include all the neutral upgrade cards that you're going to need. You're not going to have to go out and buy the Empire if you just want to play the First Order, that sort of stuff. Also coming with these factions are premium maneuver dials for them. These are a great way to fly your faction's colors and stand out in the tournament. They look great, and finally the Resistance and First Order are getting their due. And then, of course, there are going to be some ships too. First up, the First Order TIE Fighters come in second edition. That's kind of the backbone of any good First Order fleet. And the Resistance is also getting their bread and butter T-70 X-Wing. And yes, for those wondering, the wings do open and close. And we've got some new ships coming too. So first up is the RZ-2 A-Wing. For those unaware, this is from Star Wars The Last Jedi. Those familiar with the classic A-Wing are going to feel right at home with this ship, but it's got some new tricks up its sleeve. For example, it can rotate its guns 180 degrees, shoot right behind it, so don't tailgate this guy, it won't end well for you. There's also a new ship coming to the Scum faction in the Mining Guild TIE Fighter.
No, that's awesome.
So this is more than just your average TIE Fighter. It's got a special ability that lets it completely ignore asteroids while it's moving. So can't wait to see people make some pretty wacky fleets to exploit that. All of this stuff will be available in Q4 of this year. So I'd like to take a step back here for a minute and talk about an anniversary that we're quickly approaching, and that is the 10th anniversary of the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show. Awesome, right? We just heard that Lucasfilm has announced 12 new episodes of the show coming next year, and we thought, hey, let's join the party. I'm happy to announce that both X-Wing and Legion are coming to the Clone Wars. So this has to be the #1 most requested thing by fans for X-Wing, so I'm glad that we're finally able to do this. It's going to be great. Unfortunately, we can't talk too much about it. But we're going to have more news about how we'll be doing that in X-Wing in November, and we'll be talking about Legion near the end of the year. I mean, early next year. But I thought we could give you a little sneak peek of a couple of ships that are coming. Oh, yeah! First, there's the Jedi Starfighter.
Yes!
And we have the Sith Infiltrator. Now, both of these games are getting 2 fully playable factions in the Separatist Army and the Galactic Republic coming next year.
So good.
7 factions.
Clone Wars. Finally. Yes. Thank you, Corey. All right, so like Corey said, we have one more game to show you tonight. It's something we've been working on for a couple years, and I'm extremely excited to finally be able to share it with you. Let's do it.
At the center of the universe, on a planet known only as the Crucible, the Archons clash in fierce competition. Each side leads 3 of 7 houses, commanding these manifold creatures as their allies in the trials ahead. Each house, uniquely strong, must struggle alongside unlikely comrades in a game with billions and billions of unique decks. Even your mama can have one. Which alliances will be strong enough, fast enough, cunning enough to gather enough amber, to forge enough keys, to unlock the knowledge of the Crucible and ascend beyond this plane of existence in the most amazing, creative, unique game in the history of the galaxy? How's that for dramatic? KeyForge.
KeyForge. KeyForge is a competitive card game designed by Richard Garfield, set in a new IP crafted specifically for this game. Players take on the role of Archons, who compete against one another for the most precious resource on the Crucible, amber. So amber in this setting is an incredibly versatile material. It can be crafted into tools and weapons. It fuels the Crucible's technology, and it can be integrated directly into the physiology of living beings. The Archons use amber to forge keys, and they use these keys to unlock hidden stores of knowledge left behind by the architects of the Crucible. The more knowledge an Archon gains, the closer they move toward ascension, which is the ultimate goal to which all Archons strive. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the setting and the houses of the Crucible in a little bit. But for now, I'd like to talk about the type of game that KeyForge is, a unique game. So what does that mean, unique game? So traditionally, saying a game is unique has meant that a game is like original, or it has an interesting hook or a new twist, or that it's a game that offers you a variety of experiences every time that you play it. And that's not what I'm talking about here, even though all of those descriptors totally apply to KeyForge. So what we mean by unique game in this instance is far more literal. So KeyForge will be sold in a way unlike any other competitive card game in history. So instead of being sold in randomized booster packs like a CCG, or packs of fixed cards like an LCG, KeyForge will be sold in packs containing one fully playable deck, and each of those decks is completely unique. So when you open a KeyForge deck, you'll be the only person in the world with that specific deck. And with the card pool that we've created for the initial set, it is possible to create over 100 quadrillion unique decks. There's a lot of decks. We're not printing that many decks. It'd be great if we could. I don't know if there's enough paper on the planet. So each deck will always feature 3 of the 7 houses found in the base set. But the mix of cards from deck to deck is never the same. And as such, no 2 KeyForge decks will play quite the same way. In addition to the unique mix of cards, each KeyForge deck also has a unique card back. And each Archon featured in those decks has a unique name, which is found on every single card in the deck. So you'll find that every KeyForge deck has its own personality, its own strengths and weaknesses, and discovering that personality through the course of play is one of the great joys of playing the game. There is a tremendous sense of discovery, both in opening a KeyForge deck and playing that deck for the first time. This premise was one of the driving forces behind the vision for KeyForge, and has been one of the most important guiding principles that we followed throughout the course of its development. So, to talk a little bit more about that, it is my great honor to welcome to the stage the designer of KeyForge, Richard Garfield.
Hello. Really exciting being here. I've been thinking about this game for, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, but it's only been recently that technology has been able to actually print unique decks for everybody. And so what was I trying to do by putting this together? Back in the early days of trading card games, there was something really special that went on, and that was this, there was a sense of discovery which kind of got lost over time, and there was a uniqueness of what you had, which also got lost. The cards became commodities, and so when you opened up a booster, for instance, and you found some crazy dragon, this is pretty much the same as finding $20 or something like that, which is exciting, but is not the same as back in the day where you were the only one with a dragon. And we used to play with leagues. And so with leagues, you would take cards from a trading card game and you would set them aside, and you had a unique deck, other people had a unique deck, and you weren't allowed to trade, you just play with each other with these decks. Sometimes there's a little bit of ante and we'll go back and forth, but pretty much this league, everybody had their own character. And those are kind of hard to maintain because all the cards have the same backs. So one of the things I was trying to get with this game was that sense of unique ownership of the decks back, and the character that was there back in the old days. And one other thing that trading card games have, which this does not, is trading card games have net decks. And net decks are fine, they play very well, but it's kind of frustrating when you start playing and you realize, oh, if I want to be competitive, I have to see what everybody else is doing and master that. With this game, since you are the only person with a particular deck, nobody can tell you, nobody's going to know that deck as well as you do. And you'll probably be able to play it better than anybody else. You'll know its weaknesses. You'll know how to leverage its strengths. And so there's a real feeling of character that is generated. So I opened up my first deck, and the name of this deck is Wagner of Midpoint Utopia. So open up my second deck, and character is Mesurius, the aristocrat of Chaldarth. I'm very excited to see what the personalities of these decks are. Thank you.
All right.
Anti-meta.
Thank you, Richard. So I'm going to talk about dive into the setting for KeyForge a little bit, and then after that we'll open it up for some Q&A. So I mentioned earlier the houses of the Crucible. What is the Crucible? So the Crucible is a massive planet-like construct at the center of the universe, which is larger than anything in our solar system. It is comprised of land masses and other materials gathered from planets throughout the universe and stitched together into one place. is the ultimate melting pot. The architects, the enigmatic beings who are believed to have created the Crucible, have been gathering life forms of the universe since time immemorial. So the Crucible is not just a collection of all life in the universe, it is also a collection of the history of the universe. The houses, the individual houses of the Crucible, are innumerable. So when I say house, that can mean anything from a collective of beings that share a similar ethos, to a specific race, to a religious order that's very open. So this set features 7 distinct houses. And as I mentioned earlier, each deck will feature 3 of these houses. This results in a ton of interesting combinations and puts creatures who might otherwise be in conflict with one another in a position where they must cooperate under the guidance of an Archon. So let's go through them. So, first, the Brobnar. Brobnar are primarily giants, but it is also an ethos. They value strength and power, they hit hard, and they're usually pretty tough. Beasts are demon-like creatures who live beneath the surface of the Crucible. Beasts, they specialize in direct damage and destruction. Logos are a house that greatly values technology. They feature a lot of cool robots and cyborgs. Mechanically speaking, they focus on hand manipulation and card draw. The Mars faction is our take on the Martian scene in classic science fiction. The more Martians you have on the table, the stronger they get. They also have some giant machines of destruction. The Sanctum dwell on floating cities throughout the Crucible, and they focus on healing and protection. And they also tend to be very heavily armored. Shadows are comprised of a variety of creatures who specialize in being elusive and sneaky, and they're great at stealing amber and avoiding damage. And finally, Untamed. The Crucible is full of wildlife from every corner of the universe, and all of them are represented by this house. Untamed are great at quickly gathering amber and forging keys. So KeyForge releases in the 4th quarter of this year. The starter, which comes with 2 fixed decks for learning purposes, and 2 unique decks will retail for $39.95. And individual KeyForge decks will retail for $9.95. But those of you in attendance tonight will not have to wait. Everyone here will receive 2 KeyForge decks on your way out of the ballroom. So rules will be posted on our website soon. I don't know if they're going to be able to right now, but any minute they should be up.
Make it up.
We're also demoing the game at our booth, so if you'd like to learn how to play there, there's also a great venue, so please come by and check it out.
Yeah, bring those decks.
All right, so I think it's time to open it up for some Q&A. So we have a microphone here. So if anyone has a question, please feel free to walk up, create a nice oral line. We'll take some questions.
May I?
Go for it.
All right. It's
working?
No. So first question is, how do you get the mic to work? There it is.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks.
So, hi, my name is Tim. I run a YouTube channel called Crabok, and I do a lot of Armada stuff as well as X-Wing Legion and all of the Star Wars stuff. But Armada's always been my #1 game, and I noticed that you guys mentioned Clone Wars factions for all these games, but I didn't hear that for Armada, so is that something that you're considering, at least?
I think it seems like an omission, right?
Yeah. All right. Well,
I can't say anything about it yet, but
okay, well, keep that on the radar.
I felt like I knew that with the question number 1.
I was curious, is there going to be any elements of deck construction in KeyForge, or is it you get that deck and that's your deck? How's
You
that?
got it, that's it. You get the deck and it's yours.
All right, thank you.
Gabriel from Peru. We fly over here for the sun, and we have a very large community of X2 players that are very excited with this announcement. Two questions. One, is confirmed that there's going to be 7 factions?
Yes.
Okay. And the second one is the use of the app. Will you, I don't know, cover more games of Fantasy Flight games with this kind of technology?
Well, we're always trying to find new ways of using tech, using apps to enhance our games. We don't have anything more to announce in that regard yet, but I think if the X-Wing Squad Denver goes as well as we hope, and it does as much for OG as that we're hoping that it's going to do, then obviously we'll look to our other games to see if we can help them out as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello guys.
Hi.
Alright, with KeyForge, is there any way to identify what houses will be in each deck that you buy?
Not before you buy it, no. But usually the houses will be represented on the back of each card.
Okay. And then, I know we're going to learn about the game, but is there any set, like, economy? Like, is it like the Fate system, or is it a mana system from...
It is not a mana system, it is super streamlined and really awesome. So yeah, obviously,
We're going to find out.
as soon as we get out here, so yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there a way you can turn down these stage lights?
Hey, I had a question about KeyForge. So, will there be any customization for these decks?
Absolutely not.
And will these decks come with just one faction, or will they be multi-faction?
They all come with 3.
Hi. Question about role-playing games other than L5R. In particular, Star Wars, which you tagged up. Sorry, you tagged up for Star Wars RPG for 18 flat books. Does that mean you're not done with Star Wars RPG, or do you have more stuff in mind there?
Oh, no, we're not doing Star Wars RPG. Nope, we have more stuff in mind.
Hey guys, question about Arkham Horror.
Yeah.
So Arkham Horror current edition has tons of expansions, many quarters that it's unruly, right? With this new edition, how in the base game have you implemented any aspects of the current expansions, or are you planning sort of as a simple story on porting those expansions and elements of the game to the table?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the pattern that we've established with our War Files games like points to clear expansion, right? One of the things I think is one of the coolest aspects of this new edition of the game with the tiles is that we'll actually be able to expand it in more interesting ways than we did the last edition of the game where we just had a bunch of sideboards. So I think when we do announce expansions and do start to dive into those, you'll find that the expansions integrate better into the core game than the previous edition. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi. Besides the previously announced Tyrants of Lothal set and the new campaign for the app, which are coming out soonish, hopefully.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about the future of Star Wars Imperial Assault?
Yeah. I can tell you that we're going to continue working on the app, and we'll have more campaigns coming. I think the next campaign launches next week.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Next week. So yeah, I think right now our focus is on the app, and then obviously we'll have more to announce when we have more to announce.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that anything that we didn't talk about here tonight doesn't mean that we're not doing anything to support that game.
Right.
We just only have so much time to talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question for the KeyForge game. How are you going to be able to keep it balanced? Like,
can you speak a little louder?
What if, like, how are you going to keep the KeyForge game balanced? Like, what if in the instance where, like, somebody gets, like, unique deck, but that tends to be like a lot better than every other deck.
So the game has a built-in handicapping system just for that eventuality. So the games that, so decks that prove over time to be like very powerful will go into a match with a handicap against a deck that's less powerful. So you have to be able to read it on the rules, read the rules tonight if you'd like to see how that works, but that's built into the game. Great question.
Hey, so with the release of the 6th and 6th, currently in the last bit of, we've had a release of Maho and Shadowlands cards, but I was curious if we could get an official ruling or opinion on whether running those cards actually have a storyline effect to the actual game. If you run Shadowlands cards in your L5R deck, does that actually, and you win maybe a Kotai or Worlds, does that actually affect your clan and storyline?
I can't necessarily speak to that, but that sounds pretty cool. Is are you planning on doing that?
Well, you know. Thanks.
I just have two questions. The first is TI4.
Yeah.
Are there any plans for expansions for TI4?
We don't currently have any plans for expansion, but that doesn't mean that expansion won't happen sometime.
And Star Wars Rebellion.
Yes.
With something like the Clone Wars announcements, would there be any potential for Clone Wars, some sort of expansion for Rebellion, or like The Last Jedi, or something like that?
I suppose it's a possibility. I mean, I would love to do more in the board game space period with Star Wars.
Yeah, just Rebellion is one of my favorite games. I'm just really looking forward to potentially more expansions.
Awesome, yeah, great.
Thank you.
That's work.
Yeah.
I just have a question about Legend of the Five Rings.
Yes.
Is there any news on the unicorn clan pack?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there anything on the unicorn clan pack and when that might be out and anything?
Yeah, so that is one thing that we've revived. So our initial plan for the release of the L5R LCG, it mirrored a similar pace to what we've done in the past with some of our other LCGs. We go like cycle house box, cycle faction box, cycle faction box. We've reevaluated that, and we're going to be bringing the clan packs for L5R into the metagame much faster than we had originally planned. So stay tuned, we'll find out.
We're giving you the signal, we got 5 minutes.
All right,
thank you.
Alright, so for something as simple in X-Wing as unique and generic pilots, for the droid army, are there going to still be unique droids, or is everything potentially generic? I figured I'd try it.
It's a wait and see.
Wait for it.
Alright.
Okay, I've got two questions. One's kind of tongue-in-cheek, so I'm going to go with that one first. It's a question kind of addressed to Richard Garfield. By 10 to 15 years, did you happen to mean exactly 25? Other question. Android 2nd edition, maybe with 2-player official rules?
Did you say Android 2nd edition?
Yes.
I love you.
2 players is the best player. It's not in the book. And it would be great to have a new edition that kind of streamlines the turn lane.
All right.
Maybe some, or anything Android.
Well, thank you.
I love the Android.
I love Android, and I want to do more in it. As I've mentioned, I think in a couple of presentations, we are working on a Genesis book for Android, and that you'll see more reviews on that soon.
When will you be releasing the point costs for the ship and Jedi, the Jedi and Sith expansions for X-Wing?
Oh, the point costs for those? That's a ways off.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll have the point costs for everything else that are going to go up on the website I think tomorrow.
They're already up.
Yeah.
Hi, actually a follow-up question on the X-Wing. Do you guys have plans to support Epic format 2.0?
Ooh. Hold on your horses. You'll find out. Short answer, yes. So I think maybe
Hi, Tim.
3 more questions?
Thanks for taking my question.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank you about Edge of the Empire and X-Wing. Best 2 years of my life playing those 2 games. We're here from Canada.
Canada!
Canada! Not bad, not bad. There's a lot of console games that are really great out there. They have a lot of rich details, characters, information, landscapes, and mythos. Is there any way that Fantasy Flight Games would get in bed with Bethesda and get Fallout as a role-playing game with your creativity and design team, as well as perhaps Elder Scrolls? That would be a dream come true.
I agree with those statements.
Hello. I had a question about Android, if you guys are going to do anything, like maybe a card game or something.
Like a new card game for Android? We don't have any current plans for that, but you never know.
Hello.
Alright, last question.
KeyForge, what would you say is the starting age for playing the game?
I don't know, I think like, having kids of my own, like, and knowing lots of kids, their friends, like they're all at different levels, like based on like whatever their age are. Like it all depends on like their interests, like reading level, all that stuff. But I mean, I think this is totally a game that you can play with your kids, like maybe like 9, 10, depending on how advanced they are. It is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not necessarily complex. It has complexity, but it is definitely easy to get into, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. All right. Those of you who are left, can stay for the whole class or all together. I know. Have a great GenCon, everybody. Thank you. Oh yeah. Press, please move in that direction. Close the doors.
All right, guys. I gotta go. Press. Gotta go through a certain door. Bye. We'll be back a little later to talk about some of this stuff. Have a good night, everybody. We'll be back.